All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Dockside at the Bay. I am Vinnie Suds, along with my awesome co-host, Kim. Kim, how are you today?
Doing all right, Vinny. We had a nice kind of summery sort of day today. So
Yeah.
walking home from work today, it was just like we're finally, gotten past the point where I need to, bundle up and wear the winter coat on the way home from work, which is great. So
Nope, I definitely understand that. Yeah, I actually put my air conditioners in our window today because it was like close to 80 degrees in Connecticut, and we get the from the shore, so it's more humid out here.
oh yeah, we got a little humidity though too, and it's actually fingers crossed we don't run into any problems, but there is a little bit of a storm heading our way, a little bit of thunder
Oh,
and lightning heading our way
all
tonight.
right. Well, today is Tuesday night, and it is April 14th, 2026. This will air on Thursday, the 16th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, which is going to be the new consistent time slot for Dockside at the Bay, Thursday night, 8:30, so that if we have to go live, it's possible to stay in the same time slot. Okay, but I do want to go over it first off and get some programming news out of the way. This weekend is WrestleMania weekend. And I know that doesn't mean anything for you soap fans out there, but for us wrestling fans,
For some, it might mean something. You never know.
for us wrestling fans, that means a lot. And right now, it means that this coming weekend, and of course, because somehow the lighting is cutting off my arms and but this coming weekend is there's going to be a lot going on our network on suds-media.com, which is, of course, our YouTube channel. So if you're watching on something other than YouTube, go over to suds-media.com, like this video, number one, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that you get notified anytime we go live. But also hit that super chat button. Send us a super chat, a super thanks, or a super sticker. And any of other supers that you send us goes to support our network. But also, it goes ahead and gets you entered into a monthly drawing to win a Suds and Squared Circle Media t-shirt. And that we will give away at the end of the month. That's going on every month for the year of 2026. So definitely check it out. So as I was saying, this coming weekend is going to be a lot of stuff going on. Here's the current schedule of events. And I did go ahead and post a video on TikTok about it and also on Twitter. But here's the current schedule of events. Saturday is going to be WrestleMania Night 1. But it is also the same time. I really don't know why they counter-programmed, but it's Real American Freestyle's RAF 08 event from Pittsburgh. So here's how everything is going to play out. WrestleMania Night 1, Saturday night. That takes priority for me. I'm sorry to all the freestyle wrestling fans out there. WWE is the priority in my life. It always has been. So WrestleMania gets priority. So we're going to watch WrestleMania Night 1. Then, after that, it's going to be a post-show. The post-show is going to be from the EVP, CJP, who I've been on before on different post-shows and pre-shows. However, we're also going to stream that show on suds-media.com. So the WrestleMania post-show will be here as well for Night 1. Going into Sunday, I'm going to be watching Real American Freestyle, RAF 08, early Sunday morning. And then at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, I am going to be doing freestyling on Real American Freestyle, live right here on this network, suds-media.com, of course. And then is WrestleMania Night 2, Sunday night, and the same pre-show with EVP, CJP. We'll be doing the post-show, and it'll be airing on this network as well. So a lot of stuff going on this weekend, being WrestleMania weekend. And just make sure that you're staying tuned and you have those notifications turned on. All right, that's a mouthful. Now, as we go on, this is going to be kind of a shorter episode of Dockside at the Bay because, Kim, if you want to introduce what episode we did watch today.
Yeah, so we were treated to, because it was the 100th episode of the Bay, and in order to mark the occasion, they decided to post a clip show. And honestly, though, it was kind of fun going in and watching it, only because it just showed how much the show has managed to accomplish over the course of how many seasons and 100 episodes. I mean, 100 episodes of any series, I mean, that's a massive accomplishment. That's huge, especially in this day and age. So it's super cool that we got to kind of see, we got like that recap, you know, sort of style where, you know, we had it with Zoe and with Pete primarily, just kind of having their little, you know, little discussion. But if you think on it, like, they were on Bay the beginning. They were there from the jump. And just to see where the show has like taken those characters, taken all the other characters over the course of all the seasons that it's been airing, you know, up to this point, it was just, it was a nice sort of little, you know, it brought back some memories, and it also just tied, it flowed well. It didn't feel like, you know, like a standard, just sort of, well, we're just gonna, like, you know, just kind of cheekily recap what we've done.
Right.
I mean, they managed to kind of blend it in and make it feel kind of natural and nice. And like, I thought it was a nice little recap of the past 100 episodes, and it gets you excited for future episodes too, I thought, because it takes you right up to like the cliffhanger that we left off at last week.
Yeah.
With, you know, our good friend Adam and his return. And it really just kind of, you know, it caps off everything, and then it just kind of leads you into the next. So overall, good little recap, good little, you know, moment to just kind of revel in the, I feel like it was their opportunity to kind of celebrate themselves a little bit too. The pictures that they showed on the wall of the pub, you know, kind of like showing like the characters and like that on that journey and everything like that. It's like, yeah, we've managed to, you know, get 100 episodes out of this thing. So it's kind of cool to be able to, for them to capture that this way.
And you know, I really liked it is that while they were doing, they didn't feel the need to reshoot certain episodes. Now,
right,
I don't know when this was recorded, so it could have been after Jackie Zeman's passing. But like some of the episodes that we saw of the previous Jack, Nicholas Coster.
Yes.
You know, because in recent episodes, we've seen a recast of Jack. And normally, soap operas would shy away from anybody that's not currently on the show.
Yep.
And, you know, you would either reshoot it or shy away from it if it's somebody. Now, again, if it was after Jackie Zeman's passing, I can understand why they would want to show the original clips. But because they couldn't redo it. But I really liked that because it did kind of show the character, and I liked Nicholas Coster as a character of Jack, so it, you know, it worked out.
Jack, you know, he definitely had his own presence, but you know, the recast, and forgive me, I can't remember the name of the actor who played. Yeah, I feel that it was just, it was nice being able to just kind of show like that piece of history, you know, without it didn't have to go edited. They didn't shy away, as you said. They just, it reminded me almost of on Days of Our Lives when they were kind of doing some anniversary sort of tributes and things.
John Apria.
Yes. There were definitely like some flashback clips that they incorporated with actors who have since passed away or with recasted actors. I know in one case, Jensen Ackles, when he was a youngin', he was on Days of Our Lives playing, and it was but they still decided, yeah, we're going to show the clips featuring this actor because he was prominent back in the day, and maybe they had permission to do it. But it was nice to see the flashbacks as originally, like they didn't have to go in and do any funky reshoots, anything like that. It was just nice to see the original footage, and the Bay definitely adopted that in this. And I don't know, just like you said, I'm not sure exactly when they shot this, but it did sort of feel like it was getting a tribute to Jackie Zeman a little bit, because they did show Sophia clips, all kind of, you know, they showed, I appreciated how it went from like the sweet side of her to showing like kind of a scandalous, all the scandals and stuff that she was involved in. Very soapy, you know, that progression that they showed with that character. And we got a taste of like psychic Sophia and everything like that. It definitely did feel like it was in spirit with and in tribute to her, at least in that portion of it, which I don't know, me think it could have been, you know, filmed maybe after she had passed away, but I guess we're not 100% sure on that. So
but again, I liked how they did it, and I liked the overall theme of it because it literally went through all the major storylines in kind of sequence. Everything with Sarah and Steve, and how their relationship kind of, or if you will, progressed, and how how we saw that Sarah on the dock with Red, and
Right.
then how Red said, I just wish you were gone. I wish you were dead. How could you say that? I'm your granddaughter. You're a mistake that should have never happened.
So intense, such an intense scene. And it's when it took place so, it feels like it was so long ago. I
Right.
mean, what was that, season 3, season 4, when
Something
those
like
flashbacks, it was like during like her trial, I want to say, when
Yeah.
all the flashbacks were coming out. So, but it feels almost like a lifetime ago that we watched, like, that well, you watched that, and I rewatched it,
Right. Yeah.
but even so, it feels like it was so long ago. But yeah, that's such an intense moment. Honestly, everything that they showed with Jack was pretty intense.
With Red, you mean?
With Red, as well as with, even with Jack a little bit too. The clips that they showed of him and Orchid,
Yeah.
you kind of
Yeah.
forgotten about that whole thing until it, gets to like that whole scandal. And I was just like, oh yeah, okay, no, that did happen. And
Yep.
even they did show a clip too, and it was uh baby Pete, like, like with, like, from, probably, I don't know if that was from Bay the Beginning or like the first episode of like of original
Yeah.
recipe Bay. But when they showed Pete and his hair was all floofy and he was just he looked like a kid. I was just like, oh, it's like baby Pete. And then they, it was fun watching just kind of that progression.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun too. There's some moments with the dialogue, I thought, that were a little tongue in cheek. Like,
Yep.
why is that photo there? Like the creepy photo of Red that you and I have
Yep.
talked about. Like,
Hmm.
they had it displayed in the bar and it turned into this whole thing. And then we come to find out that Sarah wanted it there. And then they're just kind of like, does she have Stockholm syndrome regarding this guy?
Yeah.
Like, but it was interesting just kind of commenting on that, because I remember you and I saying, like, that's a creepy photo of that gentleman, and it's very prominently displayed, and turns out they have it in the pub. And they also have shepherd's pie at the pub. They kept on bringing that up, and I was just like, I've never seen anyone eating the shepherd's pie there. I didn't realize that it was that. I mean, obviously Irish, it's there, but I just didn't, they were really playing up that shepherd's pie stuff. And I was trying to think if there was any like specific moment, because we seen a lot of stuff happen at that bar. We had, the whole storyline, storylines taking place there, and characters kind of interacting there and things early
Yeah.
on. And
Well, because we really haven't seen that set of the bar since, I want to say, maybe season 1, season 2.
yeah, early on,
Because
definitely more
when-
prominent. And as the
Right.
season went on, it kind of, didn't fade into the back entirely.
Yeah,
but
it was more prominent when John Blackwell was still in town.
definitely.
'Cause I remember the episode where he goes in and punches Steve in the face.
Patricia Darbo as
Yep.
why am I Mick? Thank you.
But that wasn't the bar. That was the Roadhouse Diner.
Oh yes, you're right. Nope, I was mixing sets. No, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. And that's a storyline they didn't really, come back to too much.
Right.
They didn't really recap much of that sort of arc with Tamara and with the blonde thug.
Mhm.
I think we just called him Blonde Thug for a while because we had trouble placing his name.
Right.
But yeah, just you think about all the storylines that they've managed to.
I think they may have dropped that storyline.
I think so too.
It doesn't really mean much now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because all the major players outside of Tamara are,
Right.
are still are gone.
Right.
But the other thing is, like, with what happened with Patricia Darbo, what
Yes.
happened, and then her sister comes to town and she was a pain in the ass, and
Yeah.
and then with Liana leaving, it's kind of like left that whole situation in the past.
It did. And soaps, like, they phase stories in, they phase stories out, and they're going to draw attention to some of them. I will say though, with Mickey and with that whole thing, I mean, they did come into play pretty heavily during Sarah's trial, which was hinted at obviously in the clips and everything like that.
Yeah.
But we had Zoe's comment that Sarah's the queen of Bay City, and that still holds.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
yeah.
It's absolutely true.
And it was and they were talking a little I noticed too during Zoe and Pete's conversation, they were talking a little bit more about like politics of Bay City. And I feel like that was kind of like some foreshadowing into future storylines, especially just they mentioned the new mayor. I know. And I just feel like I feel like though they're planning some threads for future storylines in the
Cleo was, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't she the attorney for was it for Sarah?
I believe
I think that was Sarah's attorney.
I think so. But then elevated to like sort of that during the COVID story, kind of elevated to that. But it was just like you could tell like little seeds were being planted for like, hey, this is like an angle we're going to kind of potentially like politics and the journalism sort of angle and things like that. They were kind of planting the seeds with that, so to speak. Yeah. And they didn't really bring up Zoe being a journalist that much, given how much of a factor Zoe was in the catching up with her and everything like that. They really didn't twine in that part of her background too much.
They did at the very beginning because she was the one that wrote the article about the 100-year anniversary of
right. Yeah, but so they didn't really. But we didn't see much like in way of like her entire storyline with the man who published the tell-all book about Sarah.
Oh yeah, Nathan.
We didn't really see that brought up.
That would be nice to revisit, but I think here I think they only have less than a half hour, so they just focused on the major storyline.
And they're going to focus too on the couples too. They're going to focus on we got a lot of Vivian and Pete, which obviously makes sense because they're like they're the focal couple at this stage, and we saw like the really present relationships, and we twined in a lot of the family history. Then mentioning the nieces, the name drop of like the nieces applying for a summer job at like the tavern and things like that. So they managed to try to twine in the important, the kind of crux of the show in that sense.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
There were some storylines that like, oh yeah, like that did kind of happen, but they didn't really. They just kind of, even though they did mention Brian, we got a Brian mention.
We got a couple of Brian mentions because they did mention Brian, but then Zoe also said, "Oh yeah, by the way, speaking of Brian, his daughters Reagan and Frankie came in for jobs there."
Yeah.
Which, it's funny because I wonder if that puts Zoe in a very awkward position because here's two babies that she didn't realize that her previous fiance had with another woman, and who's apparently sprouted up out of nowhere.
A little awkward. So
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But they really downplay. That's one thing that I wish they would revisit at some point was Brian. Even if they have to recast him, but it's like because I feel like Bay the Beginning was centered around Brian and Zoe and their relationship and Igor and
it was so prominent.
And then when they got to the Bay, Pete took over as the main protagonist.
And I mean, we also had it though with like Pete, trying to find his identity with the whole storyline with his mother and then with Sarah. I mean, so much happened in Bay the Beginning that really just kind of it was definitely like prequel sort of. We're laying the groundwork for certain things, and certain things are going to come, jump into the new series. Certain things are going to get left behind. But it's funny how like some of the threads still stay intact. And Brian was definitely a huge part of Bay the Beginning and that whole scene. And then for him to just kind of somewhat vanish into the ether. What about
exactly? And by the way, folks, speaking of vanishing into the ether, one thing that's not going to vanish into the ether is our Suds and Squared Circle Media merchandise shop. That is, you can just scan the QR code up in the corner of the screen that you see, and it'll take you to our merch shop, suds-media.myspreadshop.com. You can get a Suds and Squared Circle Media hat. You can get a Suds and Squared Circle Media coffee mug. But also you can get Suds and Squared Circle Media merchandise for every member of your family. of any logo, whether it's Dockside at the Bay, if you want to do, oh, speaking of which, I didn't even change my background for this episode. But normally I use the Doc F Inside, and we have that for on the shirts as well. So you could do the Doc F Inside that's behind me. You could do the Suds News. You could do the new Vinnie Suds merchandise that's out there with my new logo. And that you'll be seeing more of on Suds News, or the next time I wear it on here. But check that out. suds-media.myspreadshop.com. And everything you buy helps to support the network, of course. Also, I do want to go ahead and plug these cute little cuddle buddies. This is a teddy bear with the Suds and Squared Circle Media t-shirt on it. But if we do offer a dog. So if you buy the Doggy Cuddle Buddy with any logo that you want on it, all the proceeds for that Doggy Cuddle Buddy go towards Samantha's Friends. We also have bandanas for dogs. Now, we have human bandanas as well, but if you buy the doggy bandana and the invoice says doggy bandana, even though it is a human bandana, but we share. My dog and I share bandanas all the time, so it works. But if you buy the doggy bandana, the proceeds from that sale will go towards Samantha's Friends as well. And coming up in just under 3 weeks, I am going to be at the Samantha's Friends event in Sarasota for their...
I would be there in spirit. I would love to attend, but prior commitments. I actually have a friend's baby shower to attend that weekend as well. So, but no, it's an amazing event, and I'm so happy that you're going to be able to attend.
But it's great because now I'm going to start going more regularly. I've been, more of an invited guest. We're going to do our podcast-a-thon again later in the year to benefit Samantha's Friends again, of course. But I do want to go ahead and just let everybody know this is, go to our merch shop, suds-media.myspreadshop.com. Check it out, buy the stuff, and support Samantha's Friends, samanthasfriends.org, because that is a fantastic organization. We are proud to support that organization through Suds and Squared Circle Media. Okay. Also, at the Samantha's Friends event, we are going to be putting out a couple of silent auction items for the gala that Sunday. So if you're going, look for the Suds and Squared Circle Media package that it's going to be auctioned off. There's actually going to be a couple of different ones, so check them out and bid and raise money for a tremendous cause. All right, back to the Bay. As we get into the more of the clip show, we did see, as you said, we saw a lot of the couples. We saw Pete and Vivian, we saw Daniel and Caleb, and how their relationship has evolved.
Yes.
We did see some Ninja Tamara in there when she unhooks.
We got a little bit of John Blackwell in there too.
Yep. Some of the names of yesteryear that we haven't seen in the Bay in quite some time. We haven't seen Orchid, we haven't seen John Blackwell. But ultimately,
they're definitely like a part of the show's history, and them getting acknowledged, hinted at, like possible, return. The door is open, with soaps, the door is always open for, returns, for cameos, for folks to, stop in, for folks to come back from the dead, for folks to get sprung from jail. And all of a sudden be back on the scene. So it's nice that they managed to just kind of, help us keep tabs on these characters, remind us of the fact that they were part of the show's history, and even if they're not in a current storyline or in like the upcoming season, they're still there and they're still twined into Bay City no matter what. So.
And you know what? It's and like I said, I absolutely loved how they did this show. Like, it was really good as just a conversation between two characters that were there at the very beginning,
right?
And that was it. Like, you saw pictures of other characters, we saw the clips, and now it's kind of going into a new era as we move, because this was season 8, episode 4. Next week is season 8, episode 5. Next episode is season 8, episode 5, of course, and that's where I guess the new stories start, or continuation of the Adam story.
Yeah. And I mean, the way that they just even, I mean, throw like because they had the string of like the more recent sort of flashes too, and they were referencing like Evan, and they were referencing current storylines towards the end of the clip show, and I have to say when they showed Pete and Adam really going head to head in
Yeah,
like the last kind of flashback sequence that they showed, I appreciated that because that is going to be like the main you know brother versus brother, that whole enemies arc, that they are definitely like setting the stage for it, ramping us up for that excitement, them showing the clip again of Adam resurfacing,
yeah,
just to cap off the clip show. It's like it's setting that tone up. It's
of
setting up
course.
like a big rivalry of brother versus brother, which is going to be really cool to see. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I have loved the Bay ever since I started watching it a couple of few because
yeah,
we're in season. We've been doing this show for over 3 years, for just
I know,
about 3 years now.
crazy.
Um, so it's just amazing to me how how much I've grown to love the show. I've said it before. It's the ECW of soap operas. They broke the mold when
Yep.
Gregory Martin started the Bay, and I like where it's going. I like the storytelling. I like how it is very, very edgy,
Yes.
but at the same time stays true to traditional soap. Um,
That's
so, anyways, we're looking forward to the new era starting next week. Um,
yes. Yep.
but
100 episodes, there's been a lot that's gone down. There's been a lot of storylines, there's been a lot of characters, there's been a lot of twists.
yeah,
But it's a digestible, it's one of those shows that binge the Bay. That's why it's their hashtag. It's like
exactly.
it's so bingeable, and it's so easy to just, I mean, you get through 100 episodes, but it's just like wow, it doesn't feel like it's been that many. It feels like just you snap your fingers and before you know it. So
Of course, absolutely.
but
All
yeah.
right. Well, Kim, where can everybody find you?
So I am Misfit8690 on Twitter and a little Misfit52 on YouTube. So feel free to hit me up there to chat about soaps or whatever strikes your fancy.
All right, and I am Vinnie Suds at Vinnie Suds on Facebook and Twitter. Suds and Squared Circle Media also has a Facebook account, so go follow not only me but also follow the network. At Suds Media is our network Twitter account. That's where I'm posting 95% of the time. That's where all the programming updates go. So make sure to follow us on Twitter because that's where you get the majority of our social media presence is right there. On Instagram and Threads is at Suds and Squared Circle. So check that out. We're doing a lot of stuff on Instagram in terms of shorts and actually getting some pretty good feedback. We've gotten a lot of feedback from Gregory Martin himself about this show. I posted some shorts last week from Suds News and got some pretty cool feedback and comments from actually Rick Hurst, who plays Rick Lansing on General Hospital. And not to mention, we do a lot of stuff with Samantha's friends on Instagram as well, and Facebook and Twitter. Also, Twitch and TikTok at Suds_media. Trying to build both of those platforms. I might start doing more WWE 2K26 gaming on Twitch to try to grow our presence there. So stay tuned. Book Beyond Reality is taking a break of this week. Next Sunday, which will be the 25th, will be the season 1 finale of Book Beyond Reality, as Veronica, Sloan, and I dive into the biggest what-if match in wrestling history of The Undertaker versus Sting. So check that out. We skipped this week because of WrestleMania. It'll be back for the finale next Sunday. And for everything Suds Media related, check out our Linktree, linktree.suds-media.com, and go ahead and visit all of our affiliates, whether it's First Phorm, whether it's Safe. I can't even remember the VPN service that we have. But we also got a number of different products there with our WWE Shop affiliate link, First Phorm, as well as 1-800-PACK-RAT, ironically. So check that out. And for everything, suds-media.com brings you to our YouTube channel. Like this video, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and send us some supers. Support the network. and enter to win a chance. Enter for your chance to win a Suds and Squared Circle Media T-shirt in one of our monthly drawings every month from now until the end of 2026. So, for Kim, I'm Vinny. We will see you next week as we go dockside at the Bay. Have a great night, everybody.
Take care, everyone.